Go ahead and get started. And I appreciate everybody coming out today on a Wednesday. Wonderful weather. Here in Bloomington. Tomorrow will be better. The day after that better. So welcome to spring. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started. And our first order of business is our monthly minutes. But before I do that, I'd like to welcome our new representative on the commission, Jeff McKim, joining us as a representative from County Council. Good to have you here.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So I don't know if everybody has had an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting in December. But if you have you got there, okay. Take just a couple of minutes and look through that. If there are any questions or corrections, let us know, and then we can move forward. Seems like so long ago. If there are no questions or corrections, is there a motion to
approve the.
okay, second, motion in a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call vote on that, please?
Michael Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim.
Yes.
All right. Getting on to the financial, we have in our packet, we have December, January, and February's financial summary. I'm going to spend time mostly on the February financial summary, but did want to talk about what the carryover balance was at the end of the year. So last year was a very good year in terms of tax collections and the innkeeper's tax, to the point to where we were able to add a substantial amount to the carryover balance. So whereas before, as we were coming out of the pandemic in December of 2021, our carryover balance was $1.5 million. And as it stands, our carryover balance was $2.5 million at the end of this last year. So it's a large improvement, and that's even as we were going through and expending things with a slight increase year over year last year. So it bodes well. And so far, tax collections this year, we'll get to that in a minute, have shown to be very strong. Where we stand right now, in February, at the end of February, our general fund balance is $2.345 million. And you can see that in that top section in February, our balance for the capital improvement fund is almost $237,000. And for the convention center debt fund, that is $399,922.61. So we do have claims before us today, and it looks like we have funds in each of those in order to cover those that come before us today. I mentioned tax collections, and so you can see our historicals going back to 2016, but this year in 2023, both January and February are far above what they were last year. and certainly much higher than what they were during the peak of the pandemic. Our percentage change is roughly 55% more than what it was in the first 2 months. Now, I don't think we'll be 55% for the whole year, but that's a wonderful trend, and we've seen that carry over throughout the 2022 and going into 2023. And our March numbers seem to be strong as well too. So I've seen February's business report for the county, and I would anticipate March collections to again be much higher than we've had in the past. So all that bodes well. Our fund balances are all healthy. Any questions on any of the financials, either in expenditure amounts or in collections and revenue?
Yeah, so I have a couple. So first of all, you mentioned you don't expect the 55% from prior year to date to continue.
Yes.
Why?
Well, that would be a monstrous number.
Yeah,
year
it would,
over year,
but
right?
I'm curious why January and February would be disproportionate.
So January and February, and if you look historically, even in 2022, in January and February of last year, a year ago, the university was still curtailing business. We were still going through that first winter wave of COVID-19. So travel was down versus that. So it's strictly a percentage thing. If you look at it historically, we're closer to where we have been in the past, but those numbers are dramatically bigger than where they were at any point in the recent past. So.
And I guess my other question is about the general fund balance, given that it's so healthy and that so much has been added. Does the commission have a plan for that? Is there a thought to maybe use some of that money to pay down the debt early
Or something else.
or something else? Okay.
Yeah. And so I think that's certainly a good and healthy discussion for us to have. There is, we did make an additional request with this year's budget, which you should see reflected in the financials, or we added to the commissioner's expense so that we could invest in festivals or other things that would continue to generate revenue in business. And whether it's the reducing debt or whether it's an investment somewhere else in the tourism related area, I think that's probably something for us to talk about. Sadly, most of now we're only pretty much paying down principal. So the real benefit to paying off the debt early was really a few years ago, where we would have been able to vacate a lot of interest payments to the bank. Whereas right now, certainly there is some, but the percentage going to principal at this point is very high.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's not much of a fiscal benefit. I'm curious if there might be a benefit in terms of, a debt-free property might make configuration of ownership for a future expanded convention center more flexible. It's just one less kind of constraint on how things can be structured for a future.
Right, and if there was some agreement, I think that would be happy
Fair
to
enough.
look at that.
Fair enough.
As a
All right.
commissioner, but to this point, there's nothing that indicates that that's imminent, unfortunately. So that's just my own perspective. But those are great questions. Any others?
Not for the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kirby, any thoughts or questions?
No, sir. Make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve the financials as presented.
Second.
And a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call, please?
Sure. Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Justin Kim.
Yes.
All right. So the next thing we have is for claims approval. We mentioned we did have opportunity to make, or funds available to make each of those claims. So just going to run through those in order as they were presented to us. The first one is for second quarter operating funds for Visit Bloomington. This is a routine quarterly distribution in the amount of $447,557 to cover operating expenses, marketing, and the like. So, any questions or comments about the claim? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'm so moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call vote? please?
Michael Campbell,
Yes.
Herbie Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim.
Yes.
Everyone will send that to you and then. Yeah. So, Jeff. Second one we have before us is for first quarter professional fees for this group to Marcia Roach for $147.50. So everything you say can be handily recorded. Marcia. Keep us on track.
I'm sorry, do you need my, look, where would you want me to
Just
sign this?
right under my name up there at the top. Kind of in the box. Not the very top, but right in the heart of it all, where you see the squiggles.
Okay, all right.
It used to, it's a signature, not a printed. That's for George. Great. So any questions or comments on the claim for first quarter professional fees?
Be approved.
Okay, motion in a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call vote, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Herbie Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim.
Yes.
The next one is before us is for operating expenses for DBI to operate convention services here in the convention center. This is a quarterly installment, and that amount is $91,142 and goes towards operating expenses, general maintenance, and other items in their operating budget.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion in a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Herbie Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim.
Yes.
Absolutely, plan passes. Well, the last one we have before us is for the debt fund for the loan payments that we were talking about on this building and for the purchase of land adjacent to this. And that is a quarterly installment of $159,000. So any questions or comments on the claim?
Only, can you remind me what the balance will be after the, or at least approximately after this payment?
Look that up and certainly get them to you. I thought you might ask that. I think I would have been prepared. So I have, after this payment, we put it at our, was that April 1st? Would be the balance on that. And that would be. Well, I'm almost there.
That's okay.
So yes, so the balance in principle is 1.864, which would be a payoff amount. So the total would be roughly $2 million.
And the 149,000 is a quarterly payment,
150.
or 100, I'm sorry,
Mhm,
159,000 is
is a
quarterly, and so there's no balloon at the end, it just goes to the, okay.
Yeah, so there had been in a previous loan, we refinanced that and removed the balloon payment, actually got a better rate. And so the final payoff date is April 1st of 2026.
Thank you.
Good question.
Move to approve.
Second,
Motion in a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call vote? please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim.
yes.
All right. And those are the claims that we have before us here today, and none other. But maybe something coming next meeting, who knows? And then the next point on our agenda is, because the convention center is so central to every question we seem to ask. And we're here in this facility, and certainly one that is central to the industry that we operate in. I added this bullet point to the agenda, and hopefully that'll be something which we just tend to lump it in one level or another, but maybe we should be more intentional about that and put that in directly. So point 5 is just a general convention center expansion update. I can bring you up to speed with what I know, which ended about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so is just to bring others up to speed, the county commissioners, the county council, and the city council have all moved for approval for the creation of a capital improvement board. The mayor's office has declined that and is opposed to that. The mayor has formed a 501c. 501c3.
3.
Always mess up the numbers. To operate several other of their downtown or other area properties and in administration of that. But that is not included the convention center expansion project as well too. So that remains separate. And that's really where I know that it's been left. I don't know anything past that. Either if the county or the city has moved beyond the public votes that they've done or the public statements. But I don't know if there's any other movement as far as a creation of a capital improvement board or anything further from that standpoint. Has anybody else heard anything different? Because that was 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Nothing different. I mean, that you are correct. I mean, of course, the commissioners resolution lapsed, and but all 3 board bodies, as you said, have kind of indicated their support for a capital improvements board.
Yep.
Only the vote from the county commissioners really counts. Everything else is just there's kind of a demonstration of support
Okay.
for the board. And so right now the ball is in the commissioner's court to essentially reestablish the
I see.
the capital improvements board. But yeah, I mean, the commissioners, the county council, both unanimously indicated support for that approach, at least, and the city council, 8 out of 9 indicated support for that approach.
Mayor's office said no to that decline then.
They did. They said they didn't feel that that was the best structure, and so they declined support for a capital improvement board. They had been asking for a 501c3 and including the convention center in that as well too. But they moved forward with the creation of that body, excluding that.
The priority of the 501c3 is the Hopewell project. They're focused on the old hospital site and doing the city's work on that. I've been told by several members of that group. That's,
Yeah.
that the convention centers never even come up in their conversations.
Okay.
And currently they have 4 appointees from the mayor and 1 from the city council.
So any other insight, thoughts, news, updates?
Personally, I still support the capital improvements board, and I'm curious if anybody on this commission has any kind of views to the contrary, or think a different structure would be better, but we're I still remain supportive of the CIB approach.
I agree that makes the most sense from all avenues that I've been communicated.
Public ownership.
From my own perspective, I would just love to get to a point to where we are past this and to the point to where we're able to move on to the project rather than debating the structure.
You and me
Very
both.
much longer.
You and me
right?
both.
I would be grateful for the creation of something that would move this forward. And because of the wide, generally the wide support for a capital improvement board, I do that as well, personally. Just as it's the closest thing to move forward to getting this thing done. So hopefully that will move forward. It sounds like maybe we should follow up with the county commissioners and ask where they are.
And honestly, just as an elected official, whenever I hear from constituents on the matter, I think 100% of constituents who do support the convention center expansion support a CIB as the governance model, except for those who are employed by the city. I mean, but everybody that gets me on the street is in favor of a CIB, and people do actually mention that. I mean, it is something I actually hear from.
Right.
Not everybody, as you know, not everybody supports convention center expansion, but I think even people who are kind of out it want to at least get moving. We've already been collecting the tax.
Right.
And I don't think anybody supports the status quo.
I agree with that.
Somewhat related, if you all recall, a few years ago, remember when we had Bharat Patel in, and he was the Embassy Suites guy, and he built he's built a conference center in Hamilton and Hendricks County. And I was talking, I just got back from the Indiana Tourism Conference last night, and we got in a conversation about him and some stuff, and both of those destinations love him and his sales team. He's got great salespeople. Both those facilities are, they're talking to him about trying to get him to expand, and he won't do it because that's his model. He's building another place further north than Indianapolis right now, again, in that 30,000 square foot space with, type of thing that she does. So again, I think we were talking to a decent operator that did a good job. We would have worked for him. So
It's great feedback.
yeah.
Okay. Anything? Well, if there's nothing else on the convention center expansion update, I think that brings us up to speed. Mike, you want to bring us up to speed on your Visit Bloomington report and
Sure.
what's coming for the better weather, please?
Like I said, I just got back from the Indiana Tourism Conference last night. That was in Elkhart, Indiana. Next year it'll be in Evansville, Indiana. We lost our bid to hold it to Evansville, but we'll get it back one of these days. I have 2 more of these that people can fight over. And both these reports are on our website on visitbloomington.com under Impact of Tourism. And both of these reports are there if anybody wants to see those. And I told y'all to clear your calendars this afternoon because it'll probably take me about 3 hours to go through these here. You didn't get that? No, I'm not actually gonna go through these
It's
in detail with
much
you.
more important. I'll just tell everybody else.
We did win Best Digital Promotion Award last night for our five golden ticket promotion last year. As you know, we've got three or four, depends on what you call new, but I've got three brand new people on my staff. Two just critical marketing positions. Jordan Smith is our leisure marketing manager, and Samantha Hyde is our content developer, and that conference is great for them. But they're going through a big learning curve right now, and us getting them up to speed. It's a lot, as you know, for somebody to come into that role after somebody who's been there for 15 years and everything changes. So that's a big thing we're working on, but we're rolling out our spring marketing, lots of things we've been doing, outdoor and radio, and of course, all kinds of digital marketing and video stuff, using a lot more new video and things this year for our spring marketing, but everywhere from Chicago. I did a radio interview with Chicago with WGN last week, and we got several promotional things going with them, but Chicago to Cincy to Louisville to St. Louis and everywhere in between, is where we're marketing, as well as obviously all over the world with digital and that. But as far as meetings are concerned, Sean will be, we in the last couple months, we've hosted two functions, one for the Meeting Planners International Indiana chapter, which he's on the board of directors of. The Indiana Society of Association Executives, which he's a key member of. We had a function here in Bloomington. Both of those organizations did in the last couple of months, and had several meeting planners here. And as usual, they love Bloomington and what we have to offer. But he'll be at Connect Spring Marketplace in Las Vegas in April. He'll be at the Fraternal Executive Planners Association meeting in June. Again, just trying to bring back those events, that opportunities to bid on those events, to where we have the space and rooms to hold them and things like that. That's what we spend a lot of time doing. Sports wise, we just got a call on Monday about the possibility of hosting an international diving competition, Tuesday through Sunday last week of April, for a couple hundred athletes. We're trying to work with athletics to make that happen. Hotel availability is slim, but a lot of that stuff is if they want to do it, and the cost involved with that and how we can offset that. So working on that, as well as we got another big track meet coming up in May, and some golf stuff that Pete is working on. 24 Eclipse. I've got a big meeting for that this Friday with the county emergency management and IU emergency management, and Kirk White and I sitting down with them and talking about that. And then the following week we've now got a committee, a local organizing committee for that event. There's probably about 15 to 20 people on it. And again, if you haven't been paying attention, we are literally expecting, it depends on who you talk to, but a minimum of 50,000 people in Bloomington on April 8th, 2024. Probably closer to 100,000. Some people say that's low. Central Indiana is expecting 500,000 to 2 million people to be in Central Indiana to watch that 4 minutes and be here, before and after it. I mean, I know a woman 3 years ago rented out our county fairgrounds and to turn them into a campground. She had the foresight to do that, and so she's on our committee. There's all kinds of things like going on like that. We're expecting, some sort of watch activity out there, a watch activity at Switchyard Park, a watch activity at Memorial Stadium, maybe out at Monroe Lake. So 5 or 6 places where a few thousand people can gather. We've got to come up with places and things for them to do, and do it safely, so that they don't just pull over on Walnut and College and I-69 and everywhere else, which that's what other communities have told us they do. But we're talking to everybody, and every community, you've probably seen them, every community is doing this, and we got well over a year to go, and it isn't something where Visit Bloomington is going to be marketing it and promoting it. We're not going to have to. We're going to be an information sharer about, if you're coming here, where do you go to have a safe, good time? Here's what you do. Here's where you get your glasses. Here's where you can camp. Here's where a hotel is, that type of stuff. So you'll be hearing every meeting, you'll be hearing an update from me on this between now and next April, but feel good about it. But you guys know, we are definitely a destination well suited for this, and we are right in the direct line of totality. It's going to be spectacular, and people's chickens are gonna forget what day it is and then they never recover from that and things like that, so.
Is Carlos involved?
Yeah, Carl is on that
Okay.
committee. We've got the
Excellent.
airport. He was talking about at one time possibly doing a watch activity, but he doesn't think so at this point. But certainly they're gonna be involved.
I'm sure they'll have a lot of.
Yeah, that's what
a
he's
lot
saying
of
about people
general
coming in.
aviation
He's
activity,
looking
yeah.
at like the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
like the Super Bowl, and people flying in and that type of stuff. So,
So the IMU will have some stuff as well too.
Yeah.
So we're already working.
great.
Involving some food, maybe some Eclipse food. I've got to figure out what that is.
I know the top of the parking garage is always is a common watch place. I assume there's gonna be some kind of access control to make sure that they don't get too many people standing on top of the.
I sure hope that comes out of the safety coordinate, that are gonna be involved in this and how we're
Yeah.
gonna deal with that type of stuff. So yes. So I will talk about both of these reports in just a second. This is our annual community tourism report. This is our annual economic impact report. This is a 22 report. This is a 21 report. We just finished going through the planning process and the input sessions for our 23, 24, 25 strategic plan. It's living in my head right now, along with a big stack of paper, and I just need to get it on paper for the board and everybody, and I will do that before the end of March. I will. But what I want to say with some new things that came out of that strategic planning process, I mean, it's not drastically different. Obviously, weekday visitation, convention center expansion, group sales, more conversions, and better and more effective at our marketing efforts. A couple things key things that did get mentioned were more promotion of the arts, particularly live music in Bloomington, which is great. We're already working on several things with that. Got a music festival coming up, a new music festival that we're involved in coming up in May called the Cosmic Songwriter Festival. I mean, the reason Visit Bloomington is involved in it is because it starts on a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing. And that's the reason they're doing it is that's my input of that. It's like, that's the only reason we would get involved and try to bring that and make that into a weekday event in the future. We have a couple other things, and Mike kind of looked at me a little while ago, and I will bring you the details of these to the next CBC meeting we're partnering with Parks and Recreation and IU Arts and Humanities, which runs Grand Balloon. Grand Balloon is the big concert that is it's gonna be huge. I'm telling you, this year with their music of the Flaming Lips on Kirkwood and a couple other bands, but we're working with all of them and Parks and Recreation, and we're doing a 3-part music series, Thursday night music series, again, picked Thursday night on purpose for 3 weekends, and 1 in June, 1 in July, 1 in August. We're bringing in a large touring band. The first night in June is jazz, the next night in July is indie rock, and the next night in August is bluegrass. We hope to announce that next week with what those are, but our goal is a minimum of 3,000 people in the park each night, and we're working with Parks and Rec to produce those. And as you can imagine, working on sound and security and parking and everything that goes with that. And it's very, very expensive. And so I have been hitting up Mike a little bit for potentially some of those extra funds to help us pay for some of the things that have come up with that, porta potties and all that stuff. So as soon as I have all that figured out and all those details and all the goals and what those numbers are, I'll present that to you and hopefully ask for that. And we have the money. It's in my budget to pay for it, but it just means more marketing dollars if I can get some of that back. So we're excited about that and looking forward to going on that in the future. Just these
Just a quick point, don't
Yeah.
skim on the porta potties.
We will not skimp on that and security.
Yeah,
We will overdo
that's
it
good
on
too.
security and all that type of stuff. Believe me. And I want you to know, nobody appreciates the fact that I am not a concert planner or promoter.
They're
So
people.
it is not something I want to be doing for very long. I really look at these as if we can get these going and get them to where they can stand alone in the future again on a weeknights in the summer when we know students aren't around and that, I mean, that's our goal. We wouldn't be doing these if there was already a big crowd in town. So we're purposely picking those times and trying to make that happen. So just keep that in
Sounds
mind.
great.
This is the 21 economic impact report. Again, we get this every year. There's two reports in your packet. I think I sent this out to you right after we got it. Said, it's kind of anticlimactic because we already know what happened in 22, and this is the 21 report. So this was really big time pandemic recovery, and the numbers were great and tons of growth. You just saw it coming right into 22, which is what Mike talked about a second ago with that surplus innkeepers and all, and how well last year was. We talked quite a bit more about that in our 22 community tourism report, and I highlight that the economic impact numbers here, so if you don't want to see the details, but Jeff had talked something about jobs and things like that. I mean, this breaks it all down for you into jobs in hotels, jobs in food service, jobs at attractions. It shows what came back in 21 compared to what was lost in 20 and all that type of stuff. So it's good stuff. Again, same thing, how I break down for you how $100 is spent, what it's spent on by visitors. And it just, again, this just goes through the body of work. My goal for this community tourism report is always anybody, any citizen could pick it up and look at it and look through it in 10 to 15 minutes and have a pretty decent understanding of what Visit Wilmington does and what happened last year.
And this is on your website.
It is on our website.
Yep.
And they're all arranged right there, just by those names. But again, our numbers were record numbers for us that go in 22 that go along with what Mike was talking about, innkeepers tax collections. And obviously it makes sense. We went over 1 million website users for the first time ever in 2022. Just all of our key performance indicators were the best they've ever been. Except for bounce rate was a little bit worse than it was in 21, but just barely. So these numbers are in here, and again, it just shows our body of work. Talked about we generated 23 new sporting event leads, and 21 of them booked last year. We had 43 new convention leads, and 21 of those booked. So it talks about our efforts there. And Mike talked about it, about how January and February have already started off good, and I left this conference and he's right. There's no sign of it is going to level out. I mean, those numbers are huge. It always has to do with the end of the year and the start of the year, but I always just try to be conservative and cautiously optimistic and say 22 was a record year. We are looking, and the industry everywhere is talking about continued slight growth, but I actually think it's going to be more than that. A 10% number wouldn't surprise me at all. A lot of it just has to do with, again, it's just our market. I mean, we are a small market, and we're doing lots of big things that generate tons of travel, and our hotels are doing a great job, as we said, with rate coming back. And it's just, people will continue to seek out the college towns that are small college towns with lots of things to offer, with lots of outdoor attractions. Yet you can, food and everything, and the arts and everything that we offer just works well. So we're well suited for the future. And the thing that I continue to say about the convention center expansion is, the people. Sure, airline flying trips are coming back, international trips are coming back, but they're not coming back fully like they were. People are still driving to see friends and relatives. That's the top thing they want to do. So it's well suited for us. When it comes to group business and meetings, we're just not talking about thousands of people. We're talking about a few hundred people a week. Not that many cars, not adding to congestion. It's just it's the demand that's demand that's bringing that next level to us. So I just think we're just well suited for that growth and to absorb that expansion going forward. And my team is ready for it, especially my salespeople. So.
That's great. Thanks, and thank you for the reports. Get a chance to dig into those, but again, those are on your website.
And the strategic plan will be up there too, and again, we had 100 people participate in that, and the big thing about that is that breaks it down into our 5 main broad initiatives. Effective digital marketing, effective sales efforts, be financially responsible, and then underneath each one of those, there's 5 or 6 really things that we do. That's our body of work for the next 3 years. And of course, I completely changed. No, I'm kidding. It's a good guideline to follow. So,
any questions for Mike, either on the reports or things that he mentioned? I know I have one, but
I just got, are you seeing, I think maybe you've talked about this before, but just salary wise, you got a lot of turnover going on. I've seen tremendous salary increase to keep staffing. Are you seeing those challenges? Do you need any adjustments to what you have budgeted to be able to bring in the talent that we need for what we're trying to do?
we've dealt with it, and I think these new people, we dealt with it, and we've made adjustments, and we're sitting good for that in the future. We did a compensation study last year. We worked with a consultant and paid a few $1,000s for that, which helped us get some, look at our job descriptions and the ranges of salaries versus peers in the state and other non-for-profits in the region and things like that. And so we're in a good situation now where, we know minimums and maximums and things like that, where we're trying to get to.
so the question I have was regarding your sports groups. You talked about Pete working with a lot and bringing this group in and this group in. And are there certain facilities or types of facilities where we are running into an issue where it's making it hard for Pete to compete? Diving, absolutely, it would depend an awful lot on IU for those type of venues, but are there other facilities that are either that he is struggling with? And you may not know offhand, but if that's something you could find out, that would be great to know.
Well, I do know, and we talk about it all the time, and I think most of the time when I'm talking and I'm saying stuff, it's usually an IU related event that we're talking about, because that's where we're having the opportunities. We're just not really seeing the traveling, the amateur traveling team, softball and soccer, because we can't compete with Westfield and Evansville and those places that have those facilities with the hotel attached and the restaurants attached and the things for brothers and sisters to do and things like that. So where we're really finding our luck, and again, is helping aquatics and the non-traditional sports find those places to have that. But we just hosted over spring break, we hosted the state basketball championships, which we have a 10-year agreement with them, and that basically is like youth homeschool basketball. So Indiana state championships for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders that are homeschooled, and they join with their friends in their areas and they play on these teams. And we had 26 teams in, and we had it at Twin Lakes, except we had to borrow one. We had to rent one facility for them, tier 10, to use it because we didn't have enough gyms. And we're still not able to get back into MCCSC facilities. They're not making those available yet, even after the pandemic, just because it hasn't been. They just haven't had the ability to do that yet. So yes, we are still challenged when it comes to those championship level events like soccer and basketball and things that we feel we could be hosting, just because we can't compete with those facilities as much as we used to be able to. Baseball is still pretty good. Just because we have several facilities. Winslow is still really good, and Cascades and Twin Lakes is too. But when it comes to like softball, it's not really our facilities that are hurting there. It's just softball that's hurting. They're just not, kids aren't playing it like they used to. So
Great, thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just to follow up, is there still potential for soccer, I guess, if we were able to upgrade our, I mean, I know you've been kind of aware of some sort of.
Yeah, I know
informal
Pete sits on
discussions
that
about-
group with you,
Right.
you guys talk about that, we do think so, I mean. They always want to hear from Bloomington as a destination bid on it, I mean, that's really all I can say.
I
Is
mean, I know we're not gonna try to compete with Westfield, but I mean, you know, if we had a couple of turf fields and some lights.
if we had some turf fields, you know, I think for sure we would be in the running for some of those because, you know, they want to come to Bloomington. They would let us get away with that, you know, we're looked down favorably because they love being here. So yeah, that would help us compete greatly.
Yeah, I look forward to those continued discussions. You know, we have the county portion of the food and beverage tax. Which I still think there would be absolutely nothing better for that to go towards than upgrading our soccer facilities at Karst.
I think many people in this room have always felt that those food and beverage tax revenues down the line are gonna go for things just like that, I hope. You know,
Yeah.
hopefully the way it works, there should be opportunity for that soon.
Yeah, I agree. It's awesome. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from that? All right. Downtown Bloomington, Jean.
I
Takes
do wanna-
away.
I do want to say related to the convention center and sports that we also have the joy of hosting sports groups here for awards banquets and
Yeah,
post tournament celebrations of all kinds. Thanks Pete for me for bringing these groups over. So DBI, downtown Bloomington, we have a great partnership with Bloom Magazine. And once upon a time, Bloom used to host a local artist showcase here, and that went on from, 2012, I believe, through 2016 is the last year that Bloom was able to host this show. It's a fabulous partnership because the proceeds, there's a very minimal ticket admission price, which is collected and used to buy artwork, which is then placed in the convention center as public art for whoever's here to look at. And we do have visitors that come in just to see the art because they've read about it on Visit Bloomington and other places. Bloom's Artist Showcase is coming around again for us on Sunday, April 23rd. I believe it's noon to 4 or 5. So we're looking, I just spoke with them earlier and we're looking for 50 to 60 artists again, which is a great size from years of on-site preparation and year-round work with 4th Street Festival. There is a sweet spot with what people can enjoy and shop and really spend their time and remember what they've seen at an art show. And if it gets, you know, beyond 120 or so, things begin to look repetitive. You get sensory overload sometimes. And with a smaller show in that 50 to 60 range, it's really great, especially if there's a nice mix of well-known artists and who already have a following and then new emerging artists. So that is going to be on Sunday, the 23rd. We're looking forward to that again. That'll be on the whole 2nd floor. Sales report for the convention center. I am recapping this first quarter of this year, which actually starts December of 2022, goes through the end of February 2023, comparing that with the same time frame the year prior. Room rental total sales up considerably, and then same with room rental attendance up and number of events down. But what that tells us, of course, is that the events that we have had have been bigger again. 2023 conferences on deck. There are 16 altogether. And 9 of them are brand new. We also had a brand new conference here this month with the Indiana statewide Kiwanis group. So 9 new on this list, and all of these except 2 of them are definite with signed contracts, hotel connections made. Everything is in the system and ready to continue on as we work on planning the details specifically. And the thing to notice about the list in total is that almost all of these are Indiana State Associations. So it goes back to that number of groups that are here in the state that have an annual conference. And a great many of them move around from one part of the state to another to accommodate their membership.
Awesome.
Any question? Okay.
Question for Jean on
Um,
groups levels.
Mike, I'd like to add a few things as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, Al is working perfectly. Sound and video are perfect. So this is a very nice experience. Anyway, but you're in good hands with Jean and Thomas there. I did want to let you know the Duke easement going across that west lot has begun with the construction there. They're bringing lines through the downtown area all the way up to 11th Street to increase the electric capacity in downtown. And so larger wires are needed, and that's going to be in that west parking lot. So
We
you'll
saw
probably,
the charts as we came in.
yes, yeah. So that's what's going on there. And then also, since we met last time, Hallmark Management, who manages the convention center properties for us, on a day-to-day basis, has sold to PMI Meridian. And so that took effect January 1st. Hallmark is with them through the end of March. Their reports are a little bit different than what Hallmark was doing. So we're meeting with them. Marcia and I are meeting with them tomorrow or on Monday to go through what we want to see whenever we get our owners disbursement, how we want that broken down. So we can stay in touch with that, but they seem to be doing a pretty good job. We just need to kind of tweak the reporting forms that we have. We finished up our audit, so we'll get that to you before the next meeting. And I would say that also at the Kiwanis Association meeting, Dr. Box was the guest speaker, and they are going full force on health in Indiana. So she's pretty impressive. So it's nice to see those groups come back, and their attendees were increased as well. So that was nice. So anyway, thank you.
Okay. Any questions wrapped around what else we're doing? Questions for Talisha?
Me.
Okay.
Good to hear you, Talisha.
Yeah.
Thanks
to
for
see-
joining.
Sorry, I apologize for not being able to be there today. I had a bit of an emergency that came up. So
No apology needed whatsoever.
who's now 2 weeks old is my little granddaughter.
That is an emergency.
Oh.
All right, any new business? Yes, Mike.
I should have said this in my report. We, in the visitor center, we actually need to, completely resurface our parking lot. It's the original parking. We've repaved the top of it a couple times, but we've never resurfaced it. And we've had a couple people come tell us we need to do it. It's got some leaks in it. So we've been getting bids on that. We've got one so far that's $34,000. One has declined to bid, and we're trying to get at least another one. So probably next meeting I'll have that as well.
Okay, that sounds great. Doesn't sound great, but thank you.
Right.
Put it that way.
Declined a bit. That's interesting.
You know what I could add is on that note, in the parking lot, we did have a service driver back into one of the light poles. That parking lot is parking lot, so they'll be handling that through their insurance. So if you saw that outside as well, that is in progress of being taken care of.
Well, I didn't, but I'm gonna go look now.
Yes, I did
It's shocking.
today sometime. So
Any other new business? Any other old business? Any comments from members of the public, either online or here present today? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I think we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Alicia.